Hey everybody, Guy here from Chit Chat. I just got done recording a really fun podcast with my friend Kristen. I've known Kristen for years, working in marketing in Central Minnesota. We've volunteered on some committees together, and Kristen works for a company called Dezurik, which is an incredible, fascinating, almost 100-year-old business in our community in Sartell, actually a couple blocks from where I live, which you'll hear more about in a second. But I love podcasts like this because I love learning about things that I don't know a lot about. And I don't work in manufacturing. We have clients that are in manufacturing, but it's a part of our world that I don't know much about. My life and my job don't intersect a ton inside of manufacturing. And so whenever I get a chance to learn more about manufacturing, learn more about the people that keep our world moving forward in that kind of way, I just love it. And so super fun conversation with Kristen today, talking about that, and Dezurik knocking on the door of 100 years. That's absolutely fascinating. And so I'm excited for you to meet my friend Kristen and to learn more about Dezurik. Thanks everybody for listening. We really, really appreciate it.
Earliest one you've done?
This is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For those listening.
Poor Caleb.
This is a roll time of 7:30, and it's great. Happy to be here. Kristen, thanks for coming to join us on the podcast today. Really, really appreciate it. Kristen, you and I have known each other for a handful of years through some marketing circles. You and I have worked together on some projects. We served on a chamber team together, but you, in the last handful of years, took a job at Dezurik.
Yes.
Which, at one point, you let me come and tour with you.
Yes.
Which 10-year-old guy says thank you. He thanked you before, but he thanks you again. I had an absolutely wild time. So much fun. Would you just tell us a little bit about Dezurik? Well, pause. I'm the only one talking, so I can pause myself. I'm excited for you to tell more about Dezurik, but here's my guess. If you're listening to this, even if you've lived in our community for a long time, you don't have a great sense of what Dezurik does. And here's why. Here's my guess. Because I've lived 3 blocks from Dezurik for almost 30 years. In some capacity, my parents bought that house. This December will be 30 years ago.
Wow. And
then I bought it from my parents. So that has been home for me for almost 30 years in some capacity. And I've driven by. I was trying to do the math with my wife. When I left the tour, I was just like on cloud 9 because I love stuff like that. And so I called her. I was like, you wouldn't believe what I got to see, whatever. And then I was like, how many times do you think I've actually driven by some corner of Dezurik? And I think that it's thousands
has to be.
year.
Okay.
Because literally everywhere I go, I drive by some corner of it.
Yeah.
So thousands and thousands a year, maybe hundreds of thousands of total, and I've never stepped foot inside.
Yeah.
And so my guess is that listeners, you also don't have a great idea of what happens inside that giant building because someone that's lived there for 30 years didn't really know. So, Kristen,
yes,
would you tell us a little bit about Dezurik? Tell us what you do. What are those big, giant metal things? And we'll just kind of jump in. But I think it's cool.
Well, we love touring, having people tour. So we do
Kristen's phone number is...
Yeah, right. In the fall, the Central Minnesota Manufacturing Association does... Manufacturing Month is October. Mm-hmm. And so they highlight tours from around the, central Minnesota. I'm talking an hour away. So that's a really good resource if you are ever wondering what is behind a paper mill in Becker or... DCI in Way Park or Dezurik. So that's a really great resource. And Dezurik has been around since 1928.
We're knocking on the door of 100 years.
We are.
Wow.
So we are ramping up for a 100-year birthday party, which seems crazy.
Switchboard is ramping up for our 10-year, and we're like, 10! Wow!
Big deal. Big deal.
It's nothing.
I know.
It's incredible.
But many iterations. So that building 30 years ago was probably as big as it is. But that building has gone through many iterations. And some things people will say to me is, the brick on the outside has changed so many times. Those are additions. Yeah. It has just grown and grown and grown. In the shop, same thing. You just maybe don't see it because it always expands to what direction is that? West. So behind Dezurik, because we obviously can't go into the river. So 1928, Matt Dezurik started Dezurik as a water nozzle, a shower company. And I made a note because it was called Dezurik Nozzle Company.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
So shower nozzles that did not clog, which was apparently a really important thing in the 1920s. And then he went on to work at the paper mill, which was across the street, which everybody knows what the paper mill in Sartell.
And across the river.
Across the river, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, across the river.
And
across
street,
the
though.
Kinda. There's
Yeah.
like a little bridge. Yep. And he was in maintenance. And he solved, they call it a pitch pine problem. So as the wood was coming through and they broke it down, it would clog.
Yeah.
And so he developed a valve called the eccentric plug valve, which is our OG of valves. And it just took off from there. That solved a really important problem. And paper mills were king in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I mean, they still are in some capacity, but they're more cardboard plants and toilet paper plants and that kind of thing. So we still use a lot of
Paper products.
Paper products, yeah. It's just not necessarily like physical paper, which there's still a market for that. But so the pulp and paper business is still alive and well.
Yeah.
But then since then we've expanded to many, many other industries.
Okay, so you said he made a valve. Can you
Yep.
just kind of like describe what a valve does and where is it?
Yes. Yep. So valves come in all shapes and sizes and forms, from a half inch, like a half inch opening. So water, something is going through a half inch hole,
Yeah.
to, we just made a 168 inch, a 14-foot outfall valve. So it's at the end of a pipe going into the ocean. So anywhere in between, but a valve essentially it controls. So it controls the flow in the pipe. So no matter what application, some kind of media is going through a pipe, and a valve can close to stop that. So if you need to do repair on a pipe, if you need to add a pipe, if you need to do anything, a valve will stop the flow of the media to make it safe to work on, we could say downstream.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, some of the ones, when I took this tour, some of the ones that I saw in there, I could have so easily climbed into. So obviously you said you made this big, absolutely colossal one.
Yeah.
But even just like the normal run-of-the-mill ones that are like, just like laying around like in these different stages, and there's tons of them that easily you could fit tons of people inside of.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was just absolutely fascinating to see all that and just hear the process, like how the product comes in and how it's formed and created and all of the different coatings that need to happen. And coatings, obviously, not all pipes transfer the same kinds of things. And so depending on what's inside of those pipes, you've got different kinds of linings. And yeah, it was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
For a community like Sartell, what do you think it means to have a business there in that community for over 100 years,
Yeah, so
or almost 100 years?
Right. So generational.
Yeah.
So there are many generations that have worked at Dezurik. There are, we did a feature, probably 5 years ago, of families that worked at Dezurik. So either husband, wives, father, sons, mother, daughters, father, daughters. So there are so many, our team is incredible. Our team members are absolutely incredible. And we have so many generations that grew up with their folks working at Dezurik. And so they always wanted to work at Dezurik. And that still stands. Like people bring their kids in, people bring their spouses in. I mean, it's just like an incredible culture. And people will say, I grew up on Dezurik, right? Their grandparents worked there, their parents worked there, now they work there.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just an incredible
cool.
story.
It's now there's like gates and it's a much bigger operation. But when I was a kid, you could like walk up to the building and big giant garage doors that were open, and they had like a fence in the mouth of the garage door. But I think the point was to like get airflow and stuff in. But like as a kid, like on my bike rides, I would like bike over there and like peek in, trying to like figure out what was happening.
Yeah.
And fun to actually like be inside now.
Now there's a little more security.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little. Yep.
Also, I think Dezurik actually taught me one of my first lessons about business, which I've never even said this before. I remember as a kid, there was a road. So when I'm heading to my house, heading north on the river road, they're now kind of like, whether you're my mom or you're me, you have a different choice on which one you kind of like, right? But there was a third option when I was a kid.
Sure.
The better option. There was a road.
Yep.
And Dezurik needed more parking and like staging area. And that road went away. And I just remember being just blown away. Like this is a road. This is like a public road. You know, I was probably 10 years old, starting to learn a little bit about taxes and just some of that stuff. And I'm like, I think, doesn't this road belong to the people? And, you know, and then like, I'm sure it was my dad just like explaining to me like, okay, well, this business in our community probably has revenue in the realm of X, which means they pay this kind of taxes in our community. And when when you contribute in those kinds of ways, you can, you know, request variances and apply for things. And it was an early lesson that just kind of in how taxes work, how business taxes work, how cities really like to work alongside their big giant businesses and industries because it's really good for their people. And I'm sure that expansion meant X more jobs. And anyway, it was just a fascinating thing to learn at a young age because I couldn't turn left where I normally turned left, which was
well, there was all
fun.
that. Do you remember there was the boat entrance right above the dam?
Yeah.
There was the one-way bridge going through Sartell.
Yep.
Like, I remember all those things, and I love that they made it a walking bridge, and I hope someday it, like, expands because those are just nostalgic things
I
for
just
us.
hope they open it.
Yeah, right?
I mean, just, like, open on the other end would be cool.
Yeah, right, to walk over there somewhere. So, yeah, I agree. But, yeah, just expansion. And just within the constraints of, like you said, we cannot move east, right? Like, we can only, like, go up or, like, a little bit out.
Yeah,
so.
and there were even houses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There were a couple of houses that, I don't know, I was probably in high school or something, and a couple of those houses got pulled because more parking lots got needed.
Yep.
That one was like much more understandable. It was like, oh yeah, just purchase the houses and make parking lot. But it was fascinating over the years to watch it grow. And then even like thinking back and realizing, like as a kid, a whole bunch of like events and things that I was a part of as a kid were all sponsored by Dezurik.
Sure.
And again, as a kid, you don't think anything about that. You know, like, of course, their name is on this big thing here in town. Like, of course, it's on this thing too. You know, you don't really put two and two together until you're like much older and like, oh yeah, right. There's sponsorship and people do this stuff because it's a way to give back. And I think there was like a big bike ride, like the Dare bike ride was sponsored by Dezurik one year, and they were giving away bikes. And anyway, I have these memories of doing these things in the community that even though I didn't really know what was going on in Dezurik, they just were playing all of these roles in our community that when you live there forever, you just kind of like bump into, which is kind of fun. And it obviously understanding more of that as an adult now is kind of fun too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, literally right now, all of our listeners, right? A lot of them are probably driving. They're in their cars. They're maybe on a walk. They're at their house. They just turned the faucet on. They flushed a toilet. You know, like there's a really good chance that everybody listening right now just engaged with a Dezurik product and had no idea at all, right? Like on your way here today, you probably drove over hundreds of the valves and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So you work in marketing for a product that no one knows about, nobody ever sees. What's it like, to like work in marketing for a kind of business that is like literally and figuratively under the ground?
Yeah. We just take all those things for granted, right? I mean, water, wastewater is one of them, that our toilet's going to flush, that our
every time
water's going to turn on, that our hose is going to turn on for our kids, or we're going to put 30,000 gallons in our pool this summer. So it's cool to know that our valves play a huge part in infrastructure. And our aging infrastructure is another really big topic right now across the United States. So it's really cool to know that we say flow control solutions for everyone, right? We're worldwide. We ship valves everywhere. And when we have some service centers that are mostly in the South, Texas, Georgia, and so we can get valves quick to people that need them. So if there's like an outage you hear about water main breaks all the time, right? So like that is like a disruption to a neighborhood, to a downtown. They have to rip it all up and you need products like fast. So we have some products for that. Of course, most of it are planned shutdowns, but not all. So yeah, it's really cool to know that our product is, and especially in St. Cloud. So for those listening, the St. Cloud water treatment plant is located like down from Cathedral.
Kind of in between the hospital.
Correct.
And Cathedral.
Yep, where the fireworks, you can usually sit on top of it sometimes for the fireworks. And that plant distributes water for all of our communities. So St. Joe, Waite Park, Sartell, Sauk Rapids. So we have had the chance to tour it. And the whole time I was like a 10-year-old guy, kid in a candy store.
So there's a tour there.
Yeah.
Maybe you could make a connection for me.
I can hook you up. And just everywhere we looked, it was just like valves, Dezurik valves. It was so cool to see, and the different kinds of valves for the different applications, right? So there's like wastewater valves that need to be the coatings need to be a little thicker because of the things, versus clean water valves that are
which have less things.
Less things, yeah. Those should be clean, hopefully. Yeah. So yeah, it's really cool, and I do not take it for granted when I turn on my faucet that like that just came through a Dezurik valve. Like I know that. So.
And do you guys send valves all over the world?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we sell through representatives. So they have specific territories, and we have representatives worldwide. So we do projects in India. We do projects in South America. We do projects in South Africa. So Europe. I mean, name the country. We have a case study.
Have you ever been on vacation somewhere? Like unrelated to your job, you're not like on a trip for some marketing project, but that you're just like out on vacation and you come across a valve, like a Dezurik valve?
All the time. So they'll be like, and you don't notice them probably till you work in an industry, but there's like little pump houses, or there's little like structures or little pipes coming out of the ground. I was just in DC a couple of weeks ago, and there is like a literal pump station outside the Capitol.
Yeah.
And I probably had to walk around the pond, and it took 10 minutes, but I was like, I'm going to see if those are Dezurik valves. Yeah. They were not, but all the time we see them. And my husband now works at Dezurik, and so he also has an extra set of eyes on vacation to see if those are our valves.
It could be a really fun little like social post, spotting Dezurik valves in the wild.
Yeah.
Like just to help people like understand more about, what you guys do. And yeah, I'm going to be on the lookout.
Yes.
And I'm going to be sending
Send
pictures.
me pictures,
I'm going to be
please.
sending
Yes.
just little fun
We'll do a whole
photos.
series.
Great.
Yep.
How many valves a year do you think that you guys produce?
Yeah, a lot. So we
like
have
20, 50.
Yeah, so we have 4 manufacturing plants across the United States. Five manufacturing plants.
How in comparison to the Sartell location, how big are the other ones?
So Sartell is probably combined we have 700,000 square feet of manufacturing space combined.
Okay.
Sartell's probably, I don't know, 2/3 of that.
Okay.
So, or half, probably about half of that. And the amount of it's hundreds, and it depends on size, right? So if it's like one you saw, was it an 84-inch butterfly valve? I think that they were working on. It was huge, 84-inch in the diameter, and that will take a lot longer to crate than it will a bunch of half-inch valves. So I don't know. I would say a year, tens of thousands,
including all the small ones.
Yeah,
and then like the really big giant ones. Like okay, how tall? The one that you said it was 100 and some odd.
68. Yeah.
168.
Yep.
Like how long does it take to create a valve?
Yeah, that's
a valve
years.
Like that?
That's like a couple of years.
For just to make that one
and
valve.
to like manufacture. So that's not even all the design time and the bidding and the design and all that, but to actual manufacture is probably took a year, like when you started from the pouring the casting to like shipping it. But yeah, those, and they're very specialized, right? So it's lots of specialty time in the manufacturing plant.
Story is the driving force for us here at Switchboard. Story is also the reason that Chit Chat exists. We tell stories of the people around us through photos, videos, branding, and websites. Story helps us find meaning, and it draws a community together, and we would love to help tell your story. You can find us at www.switchboard.mn. We would love to meet you. We'd love to talk with you and learn more about the story that you are trying to tell and how our story-driven marketing tools can help you communicate better. Can't wait to talk to you soon. One of the things that I got to see, which was kind of fun, of course, there are all these different stations and everybody's doing their very specific job. But one of these big stations that we were at, one of these valves was laying down on its side and absolutely giant on a form of sorts that sealed it up from one side. And then another thing went on top of it to seal it. And then they pump water through it to simulate it being under pressure under the ground.
Yep.
And then they were measuring how much leakage there was coming out of the valve.
Correct.
And depending on the needs and the tolerances and what is flowing through it, like there are different kinds of tolerances. Some of them, lots of water can leak out and it's not a big deal.
Yep.
And some of them, there can't be any, zero. And so this big station and these dudes with giant wrenches.
Yeah.
I mean, these nuts that they were tightening down were huge.
Yeah.
And anyway, just watching this big giant apparatus like on top and on bottom was very, very fast. Very fascinating.
So we do all of our testing in-house. We have a lab where we do lots of testing. We have a flow loop.
Yeah.
We can put all different kinds of valves and test, same kind of thing. Those big ones are usually tested in that area just because they are so behemoth. Big. Yes. You don't
Cranes
just move those.
And,
You don't just like throw it on a forklift and drive it around the shop.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know about Dezurik? As you guys are knocking on, a century of being in business, what should we know about what you guys believe in, what you care about, what you're trying to do in our community and in our world?
Yes. So we have had a handful of acquisitions in the last, 10, 15 years also to continue to broaden our scope of services that we can offer and products we can offer and flow solutions. So that's been really fun. It's fun as a marketer when acquisitions come through and being able to really put your brand on kind of a pedestal. So that's really fun as a marketer.
And figure out how to work this new product into all of the other communication that you've already done.
Yeah, that cool. And then as well as like how to sell it. So we obviously are not buying competing brands with our current brand. So we just expand, like we might not have a valve that went at the end of the pipe, but we had all the valves up to it. So it's fun to be able to sell the whole solution, the whole package, the whole pipeline. So that's really cool.
And do you need to buy a company that does that because there's a specific patent on that one? Or why couldn't you just start making a valve for the end of the line? Yeah, that just
the first. Like it patents. Just takes a really long time to develop products also. And it just depends on why companies are for sale. It could be it was family owned and they're just looking to sell. It could be, just the way the acquisition kind of world works. So the last company we bought, Red Valve, that was a family-owned company. And so they were looking to sell. And so sometimes they go to equity firms, sometimes, just depending on who is interested in buying the business. Yeah. So, yeah.
That Red Valve logo is cool.
It is. It's sharp.
Yeah, I really liked that a lot.
Yeah. And Red Valve is it's a rubber-based elastomer product, and they have crazy, we have like over 100 patents amongst our valves. So like we are the valve innovators, right? Like people copy Dezurik. Dezurik doesn't copy other people. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You heard
it. Right.
That's right. We don't copy anybody.
Yeah. So, but we are in, anything from power to petrochemical plants and oil and coal. So we are just across our industries are just across the globe, which is really cool.
Are there still Dezurik family members that are involved?
Ooh, that's a great question. I was going to bring that up. We have one.
Okay.
And he's probably the fourth or fifth descendant of Matt Dezurik, and he is in our engineering department. And
is his last name Dezurik?
Last name is Dezurik.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because there could be others, but that
Correct. Correct. But he is the only, like, Dezurik or in the Dezurik family. He's the only one. So, yeah, we have about 700 employees across all of our locations. We have locations across the United States, and we have 2 locations in Canada. So,
for your job in marketing, do you have to do you travel a bunch?
Yes. Yep. So, my specific job is a lot of trade shows.
Okay.
So, national trade shows. So, I travel to a lot of those. I try and visit a couple
of
our...
The pipe trade shows.
The pipe trade shows. Yeah.
Yep. What's it called? Like, what's the...
What's the show called?
Yeah.
So, WEFTEC... So it's Water Environment Federation has this giant trade show. But what is equally as cool on the industrial space is Mine Expo. So in the mines. So there's a huge mining, obviously worldwide. Mining is huge worldwide. And so that was in Vegas last year. It's once every 4 years, thankfully, because Vegas once every 4 years is plenty.
Yeah.
But those are giant, like Caterpillar brings their like huge.
The big dump trucks?
Yes, but like huge, right?
Yeah.
Like St. Cloud could fit into one dump truck, right? So it's those are really cool to see, and just to see the other products that go into these industries are pretty cool. My
cousin used to sell, parts and stuff
Okay.
into the mines up north, north of Duluth.
Yeah.
And he drives a pickup truck. And he said that those big giant dump trucks, that he could easily drive his own pickup truck underneath.
For
like,
sure.
Like under the belly, like in the clearance of that,
Yeah.
which I've never seen one in person, but just like seeing a big pickup truck dwarfed.
Yes.
That means the tires are at least twice as tall.
100%.
That's
what these Caterpillar, it's
Yeah.
bananas. They have to take them apart to like truck them in or train them in.
Yeah.
And then assemble them on site. Because they're like not road. They're like made for the mines,
Yeah.
the pits. You don't just like drive those
I
around
wonder what that
94.
costs for them to like just the setup for, a day like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
Crazy. Yeah.
So you do a lot of trade shows, and then like, is there any piece of your job that you're going to these other plants or like to see stuff and capture stuff?
Yeah. Yep. All that. So
Okay.
I will do visits for my team to social media also.
Yeah, right.
So we're always looking for cool stuff that's happening around our. So yeah, I try and go visit 1 or 2 locations a year, and that's just more to. I'm a people person, so I just love seeing everybody and talking to everybody, and just making sure that we're capturing the stories of Dezurik.
Really, really fun.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. Anything else we need to know about that giant building that sits on the river in Sartell?
No, we just have the best team members. We have some pretty cool core values.
Yeah. What are?
Yes.
Can you say them?
You bet. So we have driven to win right. So we just make sure we're always all headed in the right direction. We have the can do, and I call that on my team the can do attitude. Like, yes, of course we can do that. Of course we can help. Of course we can support. High power, low ego. So just making sure we're doing the right thing for the customer, right?
I like that.
And then thrive together. So that all of our team is rowing in the same direction. So
Cool. So, I'll share switchboards.
yes, please.
So we have a little acronym, DJ Hen. So when we built our core values, and then we tried to arrange the letters in something.
Okay.
So that we could remember it, and it's DJ Hen. So we have a little chicken with headphones standing in front of a turntable, actually printed up on the wall. I could show you. It's so even just like this little symbol is just like a reminder of our core values, right? This silly little chicken with a T-shirt with a switchboard S on it. But D is dog in you, right? Like, are you willing to work hard? J, joyful dreamer. That's like you believe that there's something outside of work, outside of yourself that is better. That provides great motivation for human beings, to care about something that's so much bigger than themselves. H, healthy discontentment. So discontentment is no good, right? Like that breeds all kinds of issues. But like a healthy discontentment is, I know that I can get better every day. And so I'm going to continue to pursue to be better in my job, better in my communication, better in my role on this team. DJHE is emotive storytellers. That's the one that's like the most switchboardy. Like you need to be able to tell a good story in the way that your job demands it, and so not everybody works in creative, but those people need to be able to communicate well, even in their role. And then the big one, N, not entitled, which is what we think because of yours. No good creative work comes out of ego. We're a team. We work together. We care about each other. We encourage each other and support each other. And the no ego thing is big.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, fun.
Yeah.
Okay, Kristen, we close every podcast with something called an unpaid ad.
Okay.
Do you have someone, something, or some idea that you think deserves a little shout out today?
I do. So yesterday I was at a conference called Shift, put on by our good friend Tara and Align Strategies. And it was so incredible to see the community come around and show up for this conference. They brought in John Acuff, who is an author of 11 books and podcasts.
Was he actually there, or was he just on a screen?
No, actually there. Spoke 3 times.
Really?
Yeah. And I just shout out to Tara. That was an incredible endeavor that she took on, her and her team took on. And it was fun to see the community show up.
Somehow I missed it. Like I didn't even know it was happening.
I should have brought you with.
Yeah. And where was it at? Oh, wait, no, I saw a photo. At Park, okay.
Yeah. But it was all of our original social media group, which I haven't seen in years.
That would be a fun little group. That would be a really fun little group to
I
get
said that
back
to
together.
several of them yesterday.
Yeah. I'm guessing was Don there too?
Don.
Good.
Maria.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
We should for sure.
We got to get together.
Get that. And we should probably go have lunch at the old Radisson.
Agreed.
Yeah. Cool. My unpaid ad for the day is, it doesn't necessarily have to be Kristen and Dezurik, but if you have someone in your life that works in manufacturing or something in like the trades, blue collar, these are the jobs and the businesses that like literally and figuratively keep our world moving forward. I think knowing about that thing is important, and I think you should go and take a tour. I think you should go find one of these giant factories, one of these giant plants, one of these giant industries, and see if you can just go and learn something. If you sit at a desk all day and do something, just get out for a day and go learn something. Have your mind kind of expanded. See how like industry is done in our community. They employ so many people. They're a huge part of our tax base. I mean, they play all of these incredible roles. But really, like with Dezurik, you probably engage with their product every single day, and you just don't know it.
Yeah.
And so it's a neat opportunity to learn something. And when I turn the water on, I'm going to think a little bit different. I'm going to think a little bit different about how that gets to me because of having walked through that plant. So
yeah.
To that, I say thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Wonderful to be with you this morning.
You too.
Really, really appreciate it a lot.
Yes, thank you.